G'day guys. This is on the situation with the rollout of the Jabba the Hutt stuff in Australia. I think you'll find it very interesting what I have to show from the horse's mouth itself. So embellished with my own opinions. These are my personal opinions. This is not to be construed as any sort of advice, or it's just an opinion piece on my part about what I think is some of the shenanigans in this area. Let me just share this government document. Okay, I'll just go to the top just to basically be quite clear. This document, Parliament of Australia, as you can see, I've left the website up there. Parliament of Australia, Department of Parliamentary Services. So this is their parliamentary library, the information analysis and advice. So this is the actual official federal government library. Okay, so yes, that some C19, yes, that one there, those Jabbas, the Jabba the Hutt versions, a quick guide. Yes, this was in quite recently, November the 11th last year, so wasn't very long ago. So let's go to the, rather than reading out all the sort of disclaimers and all that sort of stuff, that doesn't apply to us. So let's go to the first part. As you can see, this is very important, provisional approval process. Okay, so TGA, they're responsible for evaluating and regulating these sort of things, both therapeutic goods, which basically I mean drugs, and you know, and obviously the Jabba the Hutt variants. And basically they consider through a provisional approval process, which basically they say allows for a temporary registration, promising new medicines, yes, and Jabba the Hutt incidents. So let's go into it. So as part of the provisional approval, must first be considered for provisional determination. So the first stage is to basically when there is, so table 1 provides a summary of that received a provisional determination. So these have been put in. So the sponsor then has the right to basically apply for a provisional registration. So unless they basically find things that they, for whatever reason, or they take their time in that regard. So let's take a look at table 1. This is really important because we don't know really what's happening in the background. They haven't told us, they haven't explained, and because until the process is finished, they're not required to explain. So people can speculate all they like, but the reality is we don't know. But let's take a look. So Astra, 9th of October. The fizzy one, basically 14th of October 2020, and the J&J as we know it, the 16th of November. Then you've basically got our favorite one, which is a traditional one, and this is actually not the actual companies themselves. This is actually a licensee in Australia. So one thing that you have to realize is Nova is not a big multinational like these other companies. These companies have got tentacles in every single country. That's why they're called multinational companies. But this one, for instance, is basically produces therapeutic products and then license them to manufacturers around the world. So they don't do the manufacturing, they just develop the product and then they license it. So they make their income from licensing in a sense, but they get manufacturers around the world to approve. That means they're not as big. They don't have the big incomes to be able to advertise and promote themselves and also they don't have the capacity to basically, and depending on who they partnership with in each country, they may have more influence. Like the partners that they've actually had in India have got far more leverage with government. The partners in Australia are basically a mum and dad type business. These two people have developed this company. They were the founders, and they are the also owners and managing directors. And as you can see, they started all this company for, to basically create stuff for malaria. So that was their, to eradicate malaria. So their heart was in the right place. Their focus was that. But as you can see, this is sort of a mums and dad type, it's a small business, a small pharmaceutical sort of business. They're not big. And so they don't have the same sort of leverage, you could say, with government or influence. But that shouldn't basically, the government should basically look at the best thing for the Australian population and not basically select based on who can actually apply more influence. That's not the purpose of the TGA. That's not the purpose of the minister either. But unfortunately, some of these things do happen. I'm not making any claims or accusations or whatever. I'll let the dates speak for themselves. Everyone can make their own, they can think about it and make their come to their own conclusions. I've come to my conclusions that something is smelly. Okay, so in terms of our favorite little, traditional type, method that is used between the other two, those two, we're talking about a month difference. A month with Astra, we're basically talking about AZ, we'll call it. So it's basically, we've got about a bit over a month. And here, 6 months later for the modern one, yes. Okay. So let's take a look at when they got provisional date registration and amended for approval. So January last year, a year ago, and they only got a month difference. See, only a month, 3 months difference. 3 months difference between this one and that, and 6 months difference ahead. Okay, so, if we were talking about 3 months, when should have this happened? The other one, February, March, April. So April or May at the most of last year, if they were going to be assessed at a similar time frame. Apparently not. Then we've basically got, and because remember, March was, let's say 6 months after the phase 3, okay? 6 months after phase 3. So it was March. An additional 6 months, that's 9 months. So it should have been September. That's what we're all waiting for. At most, October. It's 3 months later, and we've seen nothing. So yes. Then and these were done provisional even before, at very early stages. Let's not forget. So then we're looking at, basically February. Then we're looking at June, and even modern was basically in August. Nothing else. Maybe all these agreements, but you know what I mean? So these are all the stuff. They've secured all these doses. They secured these doses in, we were told that they had these doses, 51 million, way back. Do you remember? See, 5th of November, 11th of November, we're talking about a year ago. They actually had secured all these, This one was abandoned. Remember? Because of I think the HIV thing. We won't go into that. So basically, when we look at this, there's something really fishy, because, There you go. I mean, Modern was basically, we secured 25 million. These are in the million doses. At a later stage, months later, we're talking about 6 months later. So from November, when the big. So what the hell is happening? What the hell is happening? That's all I've got to say in that regard. As far as I'm concerned, it looks like business as usual in Canberra, looking after their big mates in the big, multinational sort of arena. They seem to have more influence with Canberra, especially with our corrupt politicians. Yes, this small family business, which is a smaller entity, an Australian company, seems to basically be getting the minister and the prime minister giving it the down finger and prioritising their friends, maybe. That's my personal opinion. I'm not making any accusations, but it smells like shit. As they say, where there is smoke, there is potential fire. Until they can actually show us the reasons, we're quite right to be basically pissed off and angry that they're not giving us option, especially when some of us are already being driven into destitution, income loss, and many other things. I think we need to, next election, to send them a message. We need to send them a message and basically put the majors last. They need to get the message, because that's the only way they're going to learn. They need to be basically driven out like the Canadians did years ago to their major parties. That's the only way these bastards will learn their lesson, and the only way they will think twice in future of taking away our freedoms and basically destituting us like they have this time around. So hope you enjoyed it. Write to your politicians in Australia or around the world, because a lot of this sort of stuff is probably happening elsewhere as well. I wouldn't be surprised. And basically vent your spleen. Don't sit down, call them, email them, bombard them, put it on social media and tell them that these people are criminals and they are basically looking after certain people and basically trying to force under duress through mandates and pressures and stuff like that, and not giving people the freedom of choice. It seems like freedom of choice doesn't exist in the West anymore. It's only, this is it, take it or leave it sort of attitude. And if you're not a good citizen, we will basically make sure that your social credit is really in the toilet. Yes, very much so. So I hope you enjoyed this. Take care and vent your spleen. This is a personal opinion of mine. This is evidence of the Australian government. This is not me making it up. It's their documents. They basically need to explain why it's taking so long. Why is Novavax taking so long? Please explain, Minister and Prime Minister. Anyway, see yous.